If you're a fan of the Chennai Super Kings, that may not have been the easiest watch. Against the Mumbai Indians, an arch rival of sorts, a rich legacy built at the back of such fine success over the many years of the IPL that MS Dhoni has donned as captain of CSK with great pride. To see a batting collapse of that sort is not something we associate with the team in yellow. It's happened. As Ian Bishop said on our pre-show, all good things do come to an end. The prowess and the power of CSK seems to be on the wane. On Whirlpool presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout, powered by Dell. We look back at that innings with Bish and Deep Das Gupta. And let's start with Deep. Oh, that was hard viewing for a CSK fan, wasn't it, Deep?
Oh, it was terrible. It was terrible. I mean, that's what nightmares are made of. 3 for 4. And they lost the fifth also in the power play with Jadeja trying to take on Trent Bolt. Yeah, it's difficult, but you know what? One of the biggest positives right through this season for CSK and should be for the future as well is Sam Curran.
Yeah, we're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about Sam Curran. But Bish, when you make these changes, we spoke about that possible feeling of resignation in the CSK camp. What you're hoping in these changes is some sparks to look for and seek for. When you get 4 for 3, 30 for 6, and end up laboring away to 114, can you read too much into it?
Well, you're hoping. Look, I think CSK's spirit have been broken this season. I hope I'm not speaking prematurely, but from that batting performance, it kind of just confirmed what I've been seeing in the previous games. But when you make those changes, you're hoping to see stuff, as you said, RK. But sometimes you get to find out that, hey, maybe that's not ready, quite ripe for this time just yet. So what you find out doesn't necessarily have to be a positive thing. It can be a shortcoming in some areas. So I have no problem with this. Maybe in hindsight, when we talk about Sam Curran, you can say maybe he should have opened. But I think CSK right now need to find out certain things. And they may have found out 1 or 2 things that they didn't like tonight.
Yeah, and I guess it's just their luck, right, Deep, that they come up against one of the best bowling sides in the tournament. When they're trying to just change things up, you get Bolt, you get Bumrah with the new ball, who are just too good.
Yeah, true. And listen, I do understand Jagdishan, Rituraj Gaikwad. I mean, it's a big ask of them as well, isn't it? I mean, Rituraj Gaikwad playing Trent Bolt and Bumrah maybe for the second time in his career, straight from domestic level to international level. So obviously it's tough. Even Jagdishan, very first delivery. Yeah, I mean, personally, I wouldn't read much into it, especially with the youngsters. Yes, I mean, some of the other shots, you can actually go back and look at them and say, maybe the shot selection wasn't that great initially.
Bish, from that game in Abu Dhabi a couple of nights back that you and Deep both covered, KKR, RCB, to this one today, are we suddenly seeing the new white ball move more than expected?
Yes, certainly in the last game that we did, the length of time that the ball deviated off the straight was a little surprising. I already knew that Chahar would perhaps in the past swing it more than most anyway, but we saw a little bit of nibble continuously. So yeah, it is a little bit surprising. Not that I'm complaining, because I think it's long deserved that the ball has to and should be doing a little bit more. The other thing that we don't want to overlook, I loosen my color here just to talk a little bit about bowling, is that Mumbai, while CSK, Deep, and I'm sure Deep will confirm, CSK, they're flagging. They've given up hope. Their spirit is broken a little bit, except Sam Curran's. Mumbai have so much more to play for.
Yes.
They came into this game sitting in third spot, wanting to be at the top of the table. So you're looking at a team who some parts are not as motivated, and another team who, in spite of losing their full-time captain, highly motivated to try to get to a number 1 spot.
Yeah. One of those impactful decisions that Karen Pollard tends to have is bowling a Jasprit Bumrah with the new ball, which hasn't quite happened for Mumbai this season, other than the games against Punjab, where the obvious matchup is get their top 2, inform top 2. But you saw a sign of that. It wasn't just first change, 1 over in the power play. It was Bumrah one after the other from Pollard.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he was attacking right from the word go. From the very first over, the whole thing was, got to attack, and relentlessly. And CSK, fell for it. I mean, to be honest, good captaincy was very easy to let go of the pressure and start looking at, let's spread the overs over the next 20 odd overs and all that. But I think from that, I know it's easy to say it now because obviously they lost 4-5 wickets. But I think it was good on Pollard to keep attacking, when the chips were down for CSK.
Yeah, you see that. I mean, I guess it's easy, Bish, when the opposing team's low on confidence and 3 for 4 and all of that, but keeps a slip for the young new batsman, keeps a gully, keeps his best bowlers on. There's so much to like about Kieran Pollard, the captain, isn't there?
Absolutely. Look, I've been a great admirer of his. We've talked cricket a lot over the years from the very first time he started his international career back in that 2007 World Cup. And I only say that on the premise that I can tell folks that the guy is very serious about his cricket. He will be motivated not because of Mumbai only, primarily, but you don't know how many games you'll do this season. If you do one and you go 0-1, that's a great hurt to the pride of any professional. And throw your best bowlers out there. Throw your best bowlers out there. I think Bumrah used a new bowler. I think it was against Rajasthan, when I thought it was a matchup with Jos Buttler when Jos Buttler was opening the batting. But I always like to see him at the top, swinging that new ball. Somebody made the point on program just now that he's back to a really good height and form. He's just gotten better throughout the tournament.
Yep. Fair play to Mumbai Indians. There's nothing that we didn't know about the Mumbai Indians that we saw in that first innings. When they get on strong, they're very good, and they're very good as an all-round unit. But let's go to that point on Sam Curran. There will be an overhaul. It's almost safe to say now CSK will go back to the drawing board and try and do what they can, no matter what size of the auction comes their way in a month or so's time, in a few months' time. But for all the things that haven't gone their way, Sam Curran is certainly someone you think who they would like to keep now.
Oh yeah, absolutely yes. I think they will have to find another 2-3 players, because if you look at, I'm sure MS would be involved with the side in some capacity, the Chennai Super Kings, and I'm sure he would want to follow the same kind of philosophy that he's followed as a captain. And you then build a team around 4-5 of these players, and obviously one of them is Sam Curran here. Does the same thing as Bravo's been doing over the years for CSK. A very, very good all-rounder. And to be very, very honest, I thought Sam Curran, the batsman, I thought was always good. But as a bowler, and that too T20 bowler, he's come of age. And I was pleasantly surprised to see him in this tournament, how well he's been bowling, not just with the new ball, but also in the depth. He's bowled a few overs, overs. I think pleasantly surprised with his bowling abilities in this format.
Yeah, such big shoes to fill. Dwayne Bravo at his peak for CSK was such a big part of their success, Bish. And now you think if they are to follow a similar template, it's also a really rare commodity, an overseas all-rounder that will add an impact with bat and ball. And teams end up splurging big money at auctions for that skill set, but not necessarily for that level of a player. And you look at Sam Curran and you feel there's one player that could do Bravo's job for a long time.
Yes, if he can continue improving, and he looks to be that kind of diligent kid. Along with his brother, who hasn't had anywhere the same amount of success in the IPL. They look to be determined guys, hard workers, guys who study their game and where to improve. There were one or two signs, I think. Who was he with last year? Kings 11 Punjab?
Kings 11 Punjab, yep.
One or two games where Curran bowled at the end, and one particular in Mohali where he managed to help them snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. I was trying to remember if it was against Delhi. Yes, right. So we saw little signs, but Deep is absolutely right. He's taken it to another level this year in all facets of his game, and if he continues with that attitude, he will be well and handsomely rewarded in this format for that improvement.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that CSK fans now have to hold on to, you think, looking forward. And I know we will have a more detailed analysis of this perhaps towards the end of the league phase or once CSK played all their games. But the conversation's already begun about how do CSK, revamp, and they need to perhaps build their team around a new core. You sometimes also worry that at this stage of the IPL stage that there may not be strong enough Indian players that they could build from. We don't know what the rules of the next auction will be, but how many big Indian players can you get now to actually build your core around?
Yeah, I mean, they will obviously have to look at other options like trading and things like that. Listen, it's going to take a time. It's I mean, to expect CSK to bounce back and be at the same level as they've been in the last, what, 9, 10 years, it's not going to happen overnight, right? Because obviously, even if there's a big auction, there'll be some retention policies, and also you're looking at the top Indian players being retained there. But like I said, I think MS will be part of the setup in some capacity, and with his ability to take, get the best out of players, or kind of extract the best out of players, I'm sure you will find a few more superstars coming through in the next few years from that side.
Uh, how much have they missed Suresh Raina is a question that also is doing the rounds now. Let's put that in context. Raina has had seasons that weren't as good as his first, say, 8 or 9. So there's that to put in perspective too. But looking at what the CSK batting lineup has been through this season, Vish, how much have they missed him?
You definitely miss a guy who for years has performed, even if he's had some lean runs recently. Just the stability in that batting lineup, the experience that he would have been able to add there as well. So you miss him. So there's no doubt about that there are several pieces not playing at home this year on a ground they know well, perhaps more than anyone else in the IPL. Chennai has been at that disadvantage. Their ground is so different. So I think, they miss Suresh Raina badly.
Also, the manner in which they lost Suresh Raina from that team too, just before the tournament, and perhaps either didn't have the time or couldn't make a replacement. That didn't help either.
Yeah, because the thing is, who do you replace Suresh Raina with? Because again, you might pick a few Indian players who are still available, but it's difficult to replace him as a batsman. And the other important thing, maybe with Suresh Raina available, you would have the option of playing Imran Tahir more often. Then you might not. You might have still gone with Sam Curran and Bravo. Maybe you wouldn't have gone with maybe someone like Shane Watson and played Imran Tahir there. Or maybe Hazelwood or Lungi Ngidi would have gotten a few more opportunities. So I think Suresh Raina not being there, not just from a batting perspective, also from a team composition side, I think made a huge difference.
Yeah. We've seen Imran Tahir. We know what he's been doing in this period on the bench. Though he's been trying to practice the lap shot to 140 clicks an hour to Bumrah. So that seems to work well. Let's focus on the all-round abilities of Imran Tahir for this next half. Let's see if CSK can trouble Mumbai Indians. And you've already seen a Quinton de Kock and Ishan Kishan walk out. So like Bish has already pointed out, Deep Das Gupta gets all of this right. So he was very serious about that. He wasn't just trying to be nice to Deep. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's pick up this conversation. Yes, Bish, please. No, I want you to finish.
I was just going to say, Mumbai can't take this for granted here. The worst thing you can do is take these sort of totals for granted. Yeah, they better be on money and try and finish the job.
We haven't even entertained the thought of CSK making a match of this, given Mumbai's where they are and whatnot. But yeah, fair point. Funnier things have happened in the history of the IPL. Let's see if CSK can at least add some spice to this chase. Otherwise, we'll have a rather routine look back at this game with Ian Bishop and Deep Das Gupta. Pool presents ESPN Cricket 40 T20 Timeout powered by Dell. So do join us there.